The Korean sky began to look faint from behind the plane's windows, stretching like a pale blue painting that slowly became clearer as the plane lowered altitude. The thin clouds marched slowly, as if opening the way for two figures sitting side by side in the cabin, Taehyung and Jungkook. Their long journey finally almost reached the finish line, and at that moment, the atmosphere between the two felt different, warmer, quieter, and for some reason, much more meaningful. Inside the cabin, dim lights envelop the space, creating an intimate atmosphere. Some passengers are still asleep. Others are staring at the screen in front of their seats. But for Taehyung and Jungkook, the world around seems to disappear. All that remained was the soft sound of the aircraft engine and the feeling of returning home that slowly filled their hearts. Taehyung tilted his head slightly, staring out the window. His eyes reflected the light of the morning sky that began to crack. A slight smile appeared on his face, a smile that was not only happy, but also full of relief. Their journey abroad, with all the moments they have gone through, has now turned into memories that will live on. Beside him, Jungkook looked more relaxed. He leaned back, occasionally glancing at Taehyung, as if to confirm that this moment was really real. There was something different in his gaze, a mixture of gratitude and joy that was difficult to describe in words. "It's almost there," Jungkook muttered softly, his voice almost drowned out by the sound of the plane's engines. Taehyung just nodded, his eyes still fixed on the sky. "Yes, it feels very fast." That simple sentence holds a lot. The time they spent together seemed short, although it was full of unforgettable experiences. From laughter on unfamiliar streets, to late-night conversations, to moments of silence that feel the deepest. Everything now loops back in memory that a flight attendant walks slowly down the aisle, making sure all passengers are ready for the landing process. The atmosphere of the cabin began to change. Some people began to wake up, the seats were upheld, and the sound of an announcement sounded softly, informing that the plane would soon land in Korea. But in between, Taehyung and Jungkook remain in their own little world. Jungkook turned his head, noticing Taehyung's expression that seemed calmer than usual. "You look happy," he said with a smile. Taehyung finally took his eyes off the window. He looked at Jungkook for a moment, then laughed a little. "Indeed happy." The answer is simple but honest. There is no doubt in it. Jungkook nodded slowly, as if understanding without the need for further explanation. He knew that this trip was not only about the places they visited, but also about how they felt together. The plane began to break through a thicker layer of clouds. Subtle vibrations are felt in the fuselage, signaling that they are getting closer to the ground. Outside, the landscape begins to change, from cloud expanses to slowly clear outlines of land. Korea, home. The words seemed to resonate in their hearts. Taehyung took a deep breath, feeling a familiar sensation that was hard to explain. "We're back," he said slowly. Jungkook smiled broadly. "Finally." But behind the word "finally," there is also another sense, the sense that something has changed. This journey may have come to an end, but what they bring home is so much bigger than just memories. The cabin lights burned brighter. The sound of the aircraft's wheels began to be heard as the landing position was prepared. Everyone is now fully awake, preparing to return to their routines. Taehyung glanced out the window again. This time, the view of the city is already clearly visible. The streets, buildings, and patterns of life are so familiar. But before the plane actually touched the runway, he closed his eyes for a moment, as if to save this last moment. Beside him, Jungkook watched without saying anything. You know, moments like this don't need to be interrupted. In the next instant, the sound of the wheels touching the anvil was clearly audible. A slight thud is felt, followed by a long hiss as the plane slows down that they've arrived. But strangely, there was no sense of ending. What exists is precisely the beginning of something new. Taehyung opened his eyes, then turned to Jungkook. "We're going home." Jungkook nodded, his smile never missing. "Yes, we're going home." And amid the hustle and bustle of passengers starting to stand up and pick up their luggage, the two figures remained seated for a moment longer, enjoying the last seconds of journey that had given more than a purpose. Because for them, This journey is not just about going and coming back, but about how two hearts find a closer space between the sky and the clouds, before finally returning to Earth a few minutes after the wheels of the aircraft touch the runway. The atmosphere of the cabin changes to a more lively one. The sound of the seat belt being removed rattled. The upper compartment began to open, and quiet conversations were heard in different corners. But in the midst of it all, Kim Taehyung and Taehyung Jungkook are still sitting, as if reluctant to break off the moment they just went through. Taehyung stared ahead, his eyes following the movements of the people who were starting to stand up. There was something in his expression, not sadness, but some kind of desire to slow down time. This journey feels too short to end. Jungkook finally stood up first, grabbing the bag from the top compartment. He glanced at Taehyung, who was still sitting quietly. "We have to go," he said slowly, but in a gentle tone, not pushy. Taehyung nodded slightly, then got up slowly. Standing up, he took a deep breath, as if realizing that as soon as they step out of this plane, everything will return to normal. A busy schedule, a public spotlight, and a life that goes on without a break. However, there's one thing that is different. They bring home something that is invisible but feels so real. Step by step, they follow the queue of passengers towards the exit. The light from outside began to enter the cabin, dazzling but warm. The Korean air greeted them even before the foot actually stepped on the ground. As he passed the plane door, Taehyung paused for a moment, not out of doubt, but out of wanting to feel the moment to the fullest. Jungkook, who was in front of him, turned his head, a little confused, but then smiled as if he understood. "Why?" Jungkook asked. Taehyung nodded slowly. "It's okay. I just want to remember this." Jungkook didn't reply with words. He just patted Taehyung's shoulder lightly, then continued his steps. And that's enough. They walked together down the airport aisle, the sound of footsteps combined with an announcement echoing in the air. Everything feels familiar, but strangely, it also feels new in the baggage claim area. They stood side by side again. Not much conversation, just a comfortable silence. Every now and then, Jungkook glances at Taehyung, making sure he's okay. And every time that happened, Taehyung just replied with a small smile. After this, Jungkook began, then paused. Taehyung nodded. "What?" Jungkook shrugged, smiling slightly. "We'll be busy again." Taehyung laughed quietly. "As always." But this time, the word ordinary doesn't feel the same. There's a new depth in it. Their luggage finally appeared on the conveyor belt. Jungkook picks up their luggage quickly, while Taehyung looks around. He saw people who were busy with their respective worlds, without knowing that among them were two people who had just completed such a meaningful journey. They walked out together, past the arrival gate. The outside air greeted them with a distinctive chill, yet it felt refreshing. The Korean sky is now literally above them. IT is no longer something seen from a distance, but something that can be felt. Taehyung looked up for a moment, then smiled. "Strange, huh?" Jungkook looked up. "What?" "We used to go home, but it was different." Jungkook paused for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Yeah, I feel that too." They did not try to explain further, because sometimes feelings don't need to be put into words, quite felt. Their steps continue, away from the airport, towards the life that awaits them. But this time, there was something they brought with them, not just memories of the trip, but also a closeness that felt even more real. And behind all the upcoming bustle, perhaps they will often remember this moment, that a simple moment inside the aircraft cabin, the Korean sky began to appear. When everything is calm, and when they realize that between the long journey and the moving world, they always have one place to return. Not just one country, but another.